What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review and kicking off August with something that I was kind of curious about just because when I heard the singles, like, wow, dude, this is a lot different than the first one we went over. So we are going to go over the sophomore release from Crypta, Shades of Sorrow. This comes out on the 4th of August on Napalm Records. This band formed in 2019 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Formed by ex-Nervosa members Fernanda Lira and Luana Demetlo. I'm sorry if I'm fucking up your names. Yeah. Anyway, when Nervosa kind of did their split, the camps both kind of, Nervosa stayed Nervosa. Kinda, actually, they got a little bit heavier. And then Crypta kind of centered more on death metal. Now, we actually reviewed their first album, Echoes of the Soul, and it was notably like kind of like a death thrash sort of album, like very much rooted in like early Sepultura, Possessed, like that style in particular, fast, aggressive, and it was kind of just on the nose. Now, since that album has dropped, their lead guitarist, Sonia Anubis, left the band last year, and she has been replaced with Jessica Falchi. I'm sorry again. I'm gonna fuck up so many names. I'm sorry, but this is her first album with them, and in terms of like a background on her, the biggest things that really kind of stood out to me were she played in like Metallica tributes and Iron Maiden tributes, and well, you gotta be good to do that shit, and she is.
Yeah, if she is the lead guitarist on here, fucking right on.
I don't know, I think there might be some lead trade-offs, but there is a definite different feel to the leads, but let's just go ahead and say that there's a definite different feel to this album compared to the first one. I kind of went into this one expecting maybe a little bit of the first one, kind of like, you know, they established themselves pretty well.
Yeah.
And, you know, people seem to like that first one. We thought it was pretty decent. But hearing the singles from here, namely Trials of Traitors, there's definitely something different about this. This is more of a death metal album now. Like
100%.
The first one was a little bit more like death thrash. This is bigger and meaner and darker and more death metal.
Yeah, the first one I thought was kind of pretty straightforward, just like run-of-the-mill death thrash. It was good, but like this one, light years ahead of that one. There's tons more dynamic. There's tons more melody. The songs are well written. Like there's a whole lot more going on than just the typical death thrash.
Yeah, bigger, more dynamic, and still packing a ferocious punch, except it's not necessarily all like a death thrash or like kind of an old school death metal punch. Like, I mean, you have black metal on here. The thrashiness is kind of dialed down. It's more of a seasoning now. Death metal is kind of the main flavor on here.
Yeah.
Now this starts off with an intro because this is the era we live in, the era of the intro. The aftermath, it's pianos, there's like a rocking chair and the shuffling noises.
Maybe some footsteps. I can't really tell what's happening.
I don't know. It's creepy, and then Dark Clouds comes in and just blasts down the door. It's heavy, it's angry, and one of the things that I noticed right away was Fernanda's vocals are way more dynamic this time. The first album, she kind of stayed in her higher register for almost the entire thing. This one, there's way more flipping between high register screams and lower growls, and she sounds fucking great.
And the next thing that I'm going to comment on right away is Luana's drum work. Pretty much from Dark Clouds on, there's ghost notes, there's killer fucking turnovers, there's great transitions. Like, the drum work, I think, blows the last record out of the water.
Agreed.
Hands down.
Yeah, way more dynamic, but I mean, even the music itself is way more dynamic, but the fills just feel more creative. There's more punch to the breakdowns.
And a lot looser. It's not like there's that uniform sound that they're going for and she just kind of sticks in the pocket. Like, it just feels like she just kind of relaxed a little bit and went for it.
And when they get down to like the most bruising heavy sections on here, like Agents of Chaos, man, there's like a happy spot between Morbid Angel and Nile on there.
Yep.
It is lumbering, it is brooding. The riff just reeks of Morbid Angel, and I fucking love it. And it also showcases something else that is kind of different about this album is it is more groove-laden.
Yep.
You know, the thrashiness being kind of dialed down has left room for well, at least like speedier stuff that is not necessarily thrash, but when it comes down to the grooves on here, they are punchy, they are heavy, and dark. Like, honestly, this is a much more evil sounding album than the predecessor.
The Outsider, The Other Side of Anger, Trail of Traitors, which is just a heavy, flat out banger, are notably darker. Packed full of these sinister melodies and tremolos, harmonies, tapping sections. Like, it just feels more sinister.
Yeah, and the riffs are fucking so good on here, too. And I think part of that has to do with Jessica's presence on here, because that stylistic shift makes maybe a little bit more sense with her in there because of her background, because there's a lot of melody on here, like Poisonous Apathy and The Outsider. Stronghold has an absolutely beautiful bridge on it. Like these big, lush, ascending tremolo riffs. There's more atmosphere to it, and the lead work on here is scorching. Very much rooted still in thrash metal. In fact, I think most of the thrashiness kind of comes from that. I mean, you get a little bit on Dark Clouds, and there's definitely some on Lift the Blindfold, but the lead work is thrash and heavy metal and melodic as hell.
Thrash, heavy metal, and even neoclassical. I get reminded of Necrophagia style leads a lot.
But I was like really surprised by the amount of melody, because the first one, I mean, it had its melodic spots, but it didn't necessarily sink in as much as the more like thrashy, aggressive stuff. Like, that was what propelled it. These songs are more propelled by the dynamics, the shifts, the transitions, and the fact that they're a little bit more elaborate this time. Like, the songwriting on here is kind of night and day. And I think that dynamic, like, it kicks off the album, too. That was kind of a complaint about the first one, where it kind of started out a little flat, like it kind of stayed in the same gear. This one, within like the first 4 or 5 tracks, like, you get a lot of different stuff from track to track. And it kind of just opens up this album, and as it keeps going, you still get different stuff. Like, they even introduced slam breakdowns later on, and that was absolutely unheard of on the first album.
Yeah, like, that's a really cool thing, because the record keeps building. Like, you get to songs like Poisonous Apathy, and it starts to pick up a little bit, and then you get to The Outsider, and you're like, holy shit, that was a banger. And then you get down to songs like Lord of the Ruin or Lift the Blindfold, which both have slam riffs in them.
Yeah.
It gets progressively heavier, it gets progressively more melodic. In fact, in the song Stronghold, there's a melody that sticks throughout the entire song. It's always, like, in the background.
And there's black metal on here, like flat out black metal, like cold, icy tremolos, and again, the frequent use of harmonized tremolos. It just adds like a sophisticated evil to this. I really dig that. But Lord of the Ruins especially, like the opening blast beat section, icy cold, like kind of similar to like, Immortal a bit. But as it keeps transitioning, it has this kind of 3-step transition that it works for a good chunk of the song that I absolutely love. Start off with that blast beat with the cold, icy riffs, then you get into this chunky death metal groove. Like, it is punchy and heavy as hell. And then you get into like almost a Heartwork style kind of like galloping rhythm, and it's fucking fantastic.
I personally have a little bit of gripe with Lord of the Ruin, and I think it's a little transition happy. They don't stick around on any of those sections long enough, in my opinion. They just revisit them. It transitions out of that black metal thing into like a really angry riff, and then into the gallop, and then into the breakdown, but it does it so quickly, in my opinion. Like, I wish they would have let a little bit more of it breathe instead of revisiting the riffs.
I mean, honestly, the riffs were awesome, and by the time the chorus kicks in, you get that harmonized tremolo. I don't know, that song just kind of like stuck with me, maybe because it was kind of like a fun sampler platter, like kind of showcasing everything that they're trying in terms of like reaching out and broadening their sound, which they're doing a fantastic job on here. Like that opening Middle Eastern flourish to Agents of Chaos, like it definitely reeks of now. It's epic, it's kind of deserty, and then breaking into, it's fucking Morbid Angel. Like, you hear it. I mean, they did join on that Cursed tour, which, I mean, everything bad that could possibly happen on that tour seemed like it did.
Pretty much. I can't believe all the shit that happened on that tour.
Dude, I mean, hell, I'm just glad they all fucking survived. I saw the pictures of fucking Crypta's van.
Yep. I saw the pictures of the van, and then I saw the aftermath photos of the venue, and that was insane. And then, of course, right towards the end of the tour, Dave Davidson breaks his wrist.
Yeah. So Trey fell off stage, and I mean, that was a rough tour. Needless to say, this band needed a win, and this is a pretty good win because it really shows off a lot of growth in the band musically. And I know I got a hunch that their new guitarist Jessica added a lot of influence because, man, the melodies jump out. Whew. Now this isn't without like some issues, and they're kind of minor. The production here, while I like it, I mean, it is a team of really, really good guys. Daniel Bergstrand did the mix, and Jens Bogren did the master. Those guys have quite the resume. Yeah. But we were talking about it, like we feel like the guitars feel like they're a little just cut off a bit,
little thin, like, and granted, we were talking too, like, sometimes thrash guitars aren't like really standoutish and not thin, but then on the same page, you get bands like Testament and Megadeth, Enforced, where it really sticks out. It may be cut off a little bit by the fact that the vocals are really out front.
Yeah.
Which isn't a terrible thing because I enjoy the difference in the vocal dynamic, but like it is a little thin.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, now that I think about it, it kind of does sound like an Andy Sneap mix. Granted, like he turned a couple of different knobs this time because I don't think Andy Sneap changes the knobs on his settings. Like, yeah, you just go in and you record and he sits back and just like, yeah, nailed it first try. Okay, give me my money. And I do take some issue with the number of intros or interludes on here. There's 3 of them, and this album does run a little bit long. Granted, with all the songs on here, it runs really smoothly, but the intro and the outro, namely the outro, the closure, because Lord of Ruins fades out really well. Like, it's a strong fucking closer. But then you get Closure, which is just another piano sonnet, which they're all sort of piano sonnets with like various atmosphere behind them. But this one sounds like a funeral scene in a soap opera. Like, it's I don't know, like it feels unnecessary. Like the intro, I mean, it's okay. It kind of has an ominous quality, kind of like a Hitchcock film. And, maybe the limbo could have been kind of just smushed in with Trial of Traitors and just been the intro to that.
I like the limbo, actually. The limbo sounds like a cat running across piano keys.
There's something else in the background, too. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm listening to, like, the dudes that listen to EVPs and shit and fucking like ghost hunting. It's like, no, I heard that. It said, go fuck yourself. It's like, no, it didn't. That was a noise. Shut up.
So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars and a solid 4 at that. Although, we talked about the first one and I liked that record. This is just light years above that. The song dynamic is incredible. The vocals are amazing. She really does incorporate the lows and the highs where they're supposed to be, and it really brings about a flavor for each song. The drum work is insane. Luana, good fucking job. The lead work is amazing. And I do like the fact that the songs get progressively better and progressively more intense. And like there's a great build to everything. Outside of my minor gripes again with the lead guitar not sounding as present as I think it could have, and a little bit of the transition happy moments on Lord of Ruins, I really don't have a whole lot of gripes. It was a great time to listen to, and I definitely will be listening to it again. If you're a big fan of Morbid Angel and Nile and Iron Maiden, things like, Necrophagist. I even heard bits and pieces of Entheos, at least in her vocal style. Like, she reminds me a lot of Cheney Crab now, which isn't a bad thing either. You're definitely going to like this record. I would definitely recommend checking it out. If you got a chance to see them on that Cursed tour, they whooped ass on there as well, but they are moving definitely ahead. This is a definite progression for this band, and I really fucking enjoyed it.
I am also going to go with a 4. This is just an awesome improvement on everything that we're kind of doing well already.
Right.
But I think one of the main things here is the songs are just better. They're more dynamic, they're more catchy, they're more brutal, they're more kind of everything they were going for on the first album, maybe minus the thrash. I think it is missing a good chunk of the thrash, but what has replaced it is dynamic and just better musicianship. Yeah. Like, flat out. Like, even the bass lines show off quite a bit on here. The drum work is absolutely fantastic. I love the fucking riff work and the lead work on here. Like, it's all done super well. And I think they just got bigger, like, more confident. Like, this album stands out. The songs stand out more. Like, nothing against the first album. Like, if you want something that is very straight ahead and very transparent about, like, the bands that they worship, it's still a solid album. This is just, you know, them kind of coming into their own and still maintaining their love of their influences. Like, you know, the Morbid Angel influence is still heavily on here. I still hear early Sepultura and Possessed, but I also hear a band that is branching out and, you know, bringing in some dynamics that just weren't there before. Like the black metal elements on here are fucking fantastic and well employed, and it's still recognizable as them. Like, this isn't such a drastic shift where you think it's a different band. Like, no, this is just the same band but better. If you were a big fan, again, of like early Sepultura, Possessed, but also, you know, Morbid Angel, a little bit of Nile in here too. God, I would even throw in, like, you know, like Monstrosity, just in terms of like just heavy riff work on here. It's an awesome album, and a huge improvement on something I thought they were doing pretty well already. So definitely check this out. Yeah,
they tried new things, but they went for it.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of bands that try new things and just fucking don't do it well.
But they flirt with it. They sound not confident. You hit the nail on the head when you said they sounded more confident. And I think this is what confidence sounds like.
But this was killer. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below at thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is also on our channel too. But thrallsmetal.com will get some activity here relatively soon. We made our shirt order, and we'll definitely let you know when we got them, because we'll do a video and probably give away one.
They're really awesome shirts, actually. I saw the prototype of it this morning in the email. They're, I think, the coolest shirts we've had yet.
They'll be in color.
7 colors, mind you. 7 colors.
Yeah. And we're excited to, you know, show those off and do that little giveaway. And of course, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following, all that shit. It means the world to us. These next coming months are going to be absolutely loaded with different releases. August is going to have some. It's not going to be as stacked as September. September, I'm actually kind of dreading a bit, just because we got a lot of stuff to cover.
You're probably going to see some additional content from us during that time, too. We're going to Heavy Hell in Indianapolis, and then Nick and I are going to go to Full Terror Assault. And we found out that YouTube Shorts seem to work out pretty fucking well, so we're probably going to do it again.
Yep, we're just going to keep shred away from that, though, because you'll just get butthole videos.
Yeah, you don't want that.
We didn't want that, and he fucking showed us anyway. We're trying to save you guys. Anyway, plenty of stuff coming in the future, and once again, thank you all, and we will catch you later.